everyone. Welcome to the Business Exchange on Rolling Out, where visionaries meet opportunity. I'm your host, Vera, and joining me today is Shaman Shu. Hi, Shaman Shu.
How are you? How are you, Vera? Truly a pleasure.
Yeah, it is. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
About myself, well, so I am a cosmic being sitting in an avatar body right now. In this particular dimension, my former life, I was into real estate. I've been in real estate for about 30 years, a corporate CEO, and then I had an epiphany, a total spiritual change from buying and selling companies, buying and selling companies and large forms of real estate to working with the human soul. I had an experience with sacred plant medicine, ayahuasca, back in 2020, and it changed my life in such a revolutionary way. I started saying that I could share this with other people who could not afford to go to other countries to have access to the healing. And so that was the invention of shamanism. I've done training, I've been trained by gurus and trees from around the world, but it really wasn't until I had the experience with a sacred plant medicine, ayahuasca, sacred ibogaine, psilocybin mushrooms, that became a transformative process for me. And today I'm focused on healing people around the planet.
So, from everything you said, you're not just a spiritual teacher, you're also a founder, a CEO, and a visionary. So, how do you blend your spiritual intuition with executive decision making?
They work together. There's a quote that says, being woke doesn't mean you have to be broke. And so and
Yeah.
so there's a philosophy years ago that said that if you're awakened being, that it meant that you were destitute from poverty, and that truly is a form of alchemy. If we're talking about shamanism and spirituality, it is to make a manifestation and a creation in this dimension. So what does that mean? Whatever you're doing, you want to be the best at it. If you are a candle maker, you be the best candle maker. If you're a butcher, you be the best butcher. If you're an entrepreneur, be the best entrepreneur. If you're in the spiritual systems, be the best. And what that means is utilizing the tools that are available today for those things. Utilizing you, as we're talking on Zoom right now, that we're talking about a Zoom that is a technology that is used to talk about spirituality. So whatever is available today, we need to use it and put it into our war chest to be successful in transforming and healing the people.
Your ministry brings sacred plant medicine into the heart of the city. What inspired you to create a spiritual ecosystem rooted in community access and healing?
What inspired me? The plants. And George Washington Carver talked about how the plants talk to him. And I understand what that's about now after having experience with sacred plants and having them communicate with me on a spiritual level as if they were my master teachers. And so was able to eliminate from me the hierarchy of man, preacher, God. I was able actually to connect directly with the divine through that process. Like, we all have that same ability. So if you look at the pyramids in ancient Egypt or Kemet, or if you go to Algeria and you see the pyramids there, if you're in the Caribbean markets, they're all over the world. And on those pyramids are caps of mushrooms. And so it started teaching me that this divine learning has been around the planetary system, and the greatest minds had access to them. And I wanted to be able to bring that back to our people. And so that was what the community whole process was about. That's what Soul Tribes Ministries was based upon. That we all are connected to one soul. I'll call it soul system. That's a unit planetary system, and we're all tribes a part of that. So Soul Tribes International Ministries was based upon that. Not only did we incorporate as an ecclesiastic organization, we bought a 100-year-old building in the city of Detroit. We wrote legislation in our city to decriminalize sacred plant medicine. That means that people don't have to look over their shoulders to have access to these certain types of plants. Iboga is one in West Africa. That plant helps people get off heroin. I mean, it is scientifically researched that people that have been addicted to heroin and other forms of drugs are utilizing the sacred plant medicine to get off of those things. High dosage of psilocybin mushrooms have been used to help people with post-traumatic stress syndrome, anxiety, and today we are into a mental health crisis. And so when you're able to fuse science with spirituality in our communities, those are the things that have always been available to us, but some kind of way they were silenced. And so there's a resurgence of our ability to heal ourselves within our body. There is a plant literally on the planet to heal every ailment within your physical body. There is a plant,
Yeah.
That exists to heal every ailment of your mental body, your mind. And there is a plant that deals with the spiritual realm. In the shamanism world, we deal with all three of them. And that's the significance of doing this within our community, so people have access to heal themselves, getting off Oxycontin and Percocets and fentanyl, those types of things.
I do believe that there's always an answer, natural one on earth
Yes,
for us, for every single problem for the
that is
human
true.
body and mind.
That is
So,
true.
okay, as a spiritual entrepreneur, how do you navigate growth, funding, structure while keeping your mission sacred?
Well, I start 100% with that and make sure that I keep my integrity around that process. And so, and I found out that things that are pure, things that are purely that, people want to be a part of it. And so there's so much
Yeah.
research, so much science is available today for transformation. And so it's unique at bringing, I'll call it spirituality and science together. Post-traumatic stress syndrome is a word that we call it today. Many years ago, they never called it that. They didn't call these things. They just called that boy or girl who's dealing with a spiritual issue. Science has determined them as anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome, mental health. So I'm fusing the spiritual words, because they never called it that back in the day, with what's happening today, and utilizing where people are at, meeting people where they are at in this dimension, and then bringing them to a whole different level. And so that's the psychology of how I'm able to do that, utilizing technology. Right now we're in 200 million households on Roku. So if we go to we have a YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has literally, there is a training utilizing sacred science, teaching people how to breathe, ancient mantras, katas, different words that they're able to plug into for their healing. So things that people that are addicted to drugs, we've got a transformational video on for drugs. You're looking for high blood pressure, we have something that deals with high blood pressure. If you're looking for anxiety, we have something that deals with that. And so we went into the community and identified the top 100 plus elements within our communities, and we created sacred teachings around those things. And then, of course, we use technology. So now we're on Roku, we're on Amazon Fire Stick, we're on Apple TV. So we're in all the households. So there's no excuse, if you will. If you want to be healed, we're meeting you at where you're at to bring you to a higher level.
So, what does the phrase divine masculinity mean to you, and how do you embody it in your leadership?
Divine masculinity. So those are the
Yeah.
new words, So we start identifying with these new terminologies. He, her, what is it? He, she, he, her, him, and the theys and the thems. Those are newly
The
defined words.
pronouns.
We're just avatars, and I say that we're spiritual beings wrapped up into bodies, and these bodies look a certain way. Sometimes I call them, we've got all leather suits. So some people have light skin leather suits. Some people have dark skin leather suits. Some people have suits with stretch marks. Some people have suits with long hair and wigs. Some people have suits, all these different variants of suits. But what do I mean by that? We came from the God. We came from God's creation, and we're nothing but we're just pieces of leather. But what's inside of that leather can be what we choose to identify. It's a programming, by the way. It's defined masculinity. That's nothing but a program. That is a teaching. And based upon that teaching, we say, I am masculine male, I'm alpha male, I'm beta male, I'm zeta. And so the same thing with female. But on a spiritual sense, it doesn't exist. When you leave the avatar, you're just a being. And so we try not to identify on the spiritual realm as that male versus female. There is a duality, but the duality was not male and female. The duality was, what they call the yin and yang. That is a true balance based upon what you have. And as you come back to this dimension, you may choose to be a male. You may choose to be a female. You may choose to be an old white male or younger black male. These are choices that you're able to create in those spiritual dimensions.
Okay. So a lot of black men are taught to hide their pain, avoid emotions. How has your work helped men reconnect with their spiritual and emotional power?
Great question. We teach that, listen, God gave us tear ducts for a reason. That means that
It's important.
It's important. And, you know, when we're holding all these things in our bodies, trauma, we hold it in there. Trauma shows up a different way. It shows up in high blood pressure. It shows up in other forms of triggers and traumas and stress. So releasing those things. We focus on what we call the 5 elements. So the 5 elements in your spiritual world: fire, earth, air, water, space. It's within our entire bodies. We have these elements. Our bodies are 72% water. So including our tear ducts, water. So when we start identifying that we're mostly water beings, that means we have to find ways to release these things out of ourselves. We also use water as a spiritual tool. So if you go to Genesis, if you're a biblical understanding, Genesis 1 and 2, God stared water in the face. And so that meant that water was already here as an elemental force. We are water creatures. When Jesus, they said they pierced him in the side, he bled blood and water. And so when we start talking about the teaching tools for men of releasing, we are automatically built with a release mechanism that's called water, which is 72% of our whole bodies in our existence. Then, of course, earth is about another 12%. Well, earth are organs. I mean, as they say in medical world, that, you know, this our skin is our biggest organ. And so in all the organs that are part of our body, water is running through our earth, just like water runs through the physical earth that we see here. Our bodies are made up just like the world equals fire. Sometimes we need to increase the fire to get up and go and make things happen. And when you're when you've overexerted yourself, you need to cool that fire down. And so that's also a teaching in itself. And we do that with the other element called breathing. So we're learning how to teach people about the internal way to inhale with your breath and release things. This is not just a masculine thing. Women have the same challenge as well. And they keep your natural receptors. And so when you start talking about the spiritual science of the yoni, and we know what you mean, the yoni, the vaginal power, because you have water, you have all those same things in there. So women that are having hysterectomies and you're having fibroids, it's all based upon internalizing things within ourselves. And so as we start learning how to connect greater with our elemental forces and elemental powers, we're actually able to do that.
Yeah, I said doing a breathing exercise to help with sleep, and I can say it works. It really did work.
Yeah. Every day,
sleep.
a breath. I mean, we breathe about 25,000 times a day. You know, we got it. We need to use them. And so what if you focus on your breath? What if you focused and took time and had very intentional breathing to release some things out of your body? Just take it in just now. Now, mind you, you're in a different part of the world, but you felt that breath. You felt the energy just transferring, because we're all connected. We're not just me taking the time out and breathing. Right now, you're feeling it within yourself, and you're getting a sense of calm just by us talking through Zoom.
Wonderful. So you serve people from many walks of life. How do you foster spiritual inclusion and interfaith respect within your work?
Well, I don't leave my home without checking with it myself. I am my own temple. So if it's not an external thing, I check in with myself on a daily basis and identifying myself, I do self-screenings, where you're checking in with yourself. So that is my spiritual belief system. This isn't for other people. This is for me. And because I am my own miracle, I'm a miracle. I'm a manifestation of something that God gave me the ability to transform my own self. What type of person would I not be than to be a living, bona fide testimony, share these experiences with the world? And that's what I do. So when I share with people about how it changed my life, and hopefully they'll have their experience and have transformed their lives. I mean, we've had through our ministry hundreds of people to come and sit with us and to learn our teachings, to sit with the sacred plant medicine, to see themselves and look. These are Michael Jackson moments, looking at yourself in the mirror to see who you are and what you're made of. And these are our moments. That's what it's about, looking at you within your own mirror. We have consistently, and that's what this whole thing, looking at you, seeing yourself, your beautiful self, your ugly self, your transformed yourself, the self that needs to heal, and the self that's going through things right now. And so that's what it's about, even within your own journey. I can see it right staring at you right now. That's the spiritual side of it. Everything is going to be okay, sister. Everything is guaranteed to be okay. Because when you speak these things into existence and you use your power that God has given you, and He's giving you an enormous group of power, that you speak that. And so there's a trick out here to having us believe in programs. And so the programs right now are, I'll just be very simple. We'll talk about Instagram and Facebook. What are we feeding ourselves? All these feeds. What are we scrolling? What's the garbage that we're taking within our minds and our bodies? And so if you put yourself on a spiritual diet to say, let me feed myself something different. You notice you start feeding yourself something different. The programs, the programming, the words that you hear within your mind and your body will be different. You know, the average person has about 60,000 thoughts a day. Most of those thoughts are negative, and most of them aren't even your thoughts. They're programs.
That's good to know. So
They're
I've
programs.
never really thought about it like that before. Yeah.
They're not your thoughts.
That's
They're your
enlightening.
programs.
Yeah, because sometimes we do think about things we've seen on the internet, on social media, and then
Yeah,
you're right. I think so.
that's what you're eating.
So
Like that's food. That's why they call it feed. You're feeding yourself.
garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's what it
Okay.
is.
So Soul Tribes is more than a ministry, it's a movement. What is your long-term vision for it on a national or global scale?
Well, we're all connected. And so the whole significance of setting up Soul Tribes as a ministry, the things that help me heal, I'm sharing them with people. You know, I've met with shamans in West Africa and East Africa and spiritual leaders and out of Tibet and Thailand and people just all over the world who poured into me. And so that information is to go out to the community. That's what Soul Tribes is about. It's a global phenom. In the Maasai tribe in Kenya, you know, I'm the Olibani, which is a spiritual leader from that vantage point. So there are different, but my role is to push healing, to push spirituality around the world. And that's what Soul Tribes is about. And it isn't just about the sacred plant medicine, but you can't really graduate unless you taste it, unless you try it. You know, it's like, how do you see what you're made of? You want to move all barriers of fear out of your way. And utilizing the actual things that the gurus and the pharaohs and from Kemet utilize or Egypt utilized for our healing. And so my goal with Soul Tribes is that people around the world are getting their healing, whether it's coming directly from me or not. But if it's enough, if we change the frequency and the vibration, and the frequency and vibration goes out there, and other people say, wait a minute, they start to feel that frequency. And that's what I push out every single day. As Kanye West said, one man can't make a difference, right?
Yeah.
He did say that. And one woman can make a difference too.
He did. Yeah, you can. So what would you say to someone who's skeptical about combining spirituality with plant medicine?
I'll say it a different way. Plant medicine, and you identify there's a herb to deal with every medicinal area of our body. There's one that deals with every mental issue of our body. There's also one that deals with the spiritual. And so for whatever reason, we are afraid of the spiritual side of our thought processes. Yeah. When you think about it, you know, spirituality is the most discriminatory place of our entire life. So real simple. People that get out here and they talk about spirituality, and anywhere in North America, you're only talking about 3 books: the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. You won't even allow yourself to receive anything else. And yet we say we're spiritual beings. We forgot about the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. We forgot about all those specific teachings around the world. And yet we say we're spiritual. In elementary school, you couldn't even graduate from elementary school unless you read at least 30 books. Like that's I didn't say doctoral degree. I said elementary school. No. So now here we are saying that we're spiritual, powerful beings, and we would not allow ourselves to stretch away from our power bases. And they treat us like we're vampires or Dracula. Well, you can't don't learn none of that. You're going to put something else in your body as if we're vampires. Like we don't have the spiritual power to refute the enemy. So when I share with people the fusion of sacred plant medicine and spiritual teaching is one of the other tools. And so if we truly say that we're spiritual beings, allow ourselves to have access to all the tools that God has given us, the ones for our mind, the ones for our body, and the ones for our spirit. It's in the earth. So what are we really talking about? These are things that have been structured so people can continue to be programs. And what the spiritual sacred plant medicine does, it opens you up to have a different level of freedom. I mean, you can't, as I said, you can't graduate from elementary school reading one book.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kindergarten. So we are supposed to be these enlightened spiritual beings, and we were not to let ourselves study any other spiritual system other than the ones that we've been programmed to receive.
I totally understand that, because growing up in a Christian household, when you even think of looking into something else and then say the Quran, something else, your parents are mostly like, no, you can't do that. But I understand we should enlighten ourselves. We should experience more.
In the first phase, I had to do I grew up in a Christian household. My whole family's in a ministry. My father is a chaplain. My mother is a pastor. My uncle taught at Yale University pastoral care. My siblings are pastors and preachers. And so I was a white sheep of the Black family. And so what enabled me to do, is to go out and to study different things. To say, wait a minute, study to show yourself approved. I went after actual biblical principles. And so why can I not study this? What is that about? That's about socialization. That is about programming. That is literally religion. It becomes division, where we're utilizing these things to divide ourselves. But let me go and learn as if I will go around the world and eating different food in different restaurants. You mean I'm only allowed to eat chicken wings for the rest of my life? Or soul food?
No.
But that's the same principle in spiritual systems. Let me learn something different. It will make me appreciate what I was born to do better. If that is to be a Christian, I can appreciate my learnings and my teachings better. If I'm supposed to be a Muslim, let me understand this better, because I actually learned something different. Just like my palate is now different, where I may want to try some special Italian food, or may want to try Greek food, or may want to try Afro-Caribbean cuisine. I may want to try umfufu and falafel and all of these different things. I may want to go around and try those things, and I can talk about them. I can go to Ethiopia and say, I want the injera, I want the dorowat, I want the asa. So because I've traveled around the world, now my palate is different. And I appreciate food. I appreciate the culture. I appreciate the people that put their energy into the food that much better. And it's the same thing with spiritual systems.
Yeah, thank you. But you definitely should try jollof rice.
Oh yeah, jollof. Yes,
rice.
I tried that too. Yes, jollof rice. Yes.
How was it?
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've tried.
Okay, that brings us to the end of another inspiring episode of the Business Exchange. Thank you, Shaman Shu, for joining us today. And I hope for our viewers out there that you do learn to open your mind just a little bit, try new things, read new books, explore. There's no harm in it. So thank you, Shaman Shu, for joining us. And until next time, this was the Business Exchange on Rolling Out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Ashe.